let's have a look at what confidence intervals are. So if I go back to the big picture, this whole topic is called inference. And what happens is that we are taking a population that we're interested in. Okay, so we've got our lovely, great big population here. And from that population, we take a sample. Now, with that sample, we are then trying to make an inference or make suggestions about what the actual population might be suggesting. Okay, so the idea behind this confidence intervals is about when I take a new sample, what is likely to happen. So what I want us to do is there's some animations that I want to go and have a look at to try and give you an idea of what happens when we take different samples from the same population and how much variation there is around the median. Okay, so I want to specifically focus on the median and look at how much variation there is. So let's go and have a look at these animations. Seeing here is an animation of multiple samples being taken from the same population. So every time you're seeing a new graph, and you can see these dot plots and box and whisker graphs are changing constantly, that's because a new sample has been taken. And what I want you to notice is I want you to particularly think about, first of all, the data, the blue dots. As each sample is taken, those blue dots are changing because the data is changing each time. Now I want you to look at where the median is there. Okay, and that median is changing every time. So what we're going to do is we're just going to switch to a similar graph, but I want to record how much these medians change. So what we've got here is the same graph, but it's just recording now the medians, and you can see all those blue lines in the middle. And that is showing us how much that median changes from one sample to another. Alright, so that's showing the variation in the sample median, and the values above that are kind of in grey, these are our original population values. And what we should be able to see is that when we look at that range of blue values, that's going to match a similar, that the population median is going to fall inside of that blue range. And so that leads us to taking forming a confidence interval, which gives us the range of values that it could take if I've just got a single sample. So we can see from the animations the median varies from each time we take a sample. And so a confidence interval, there's a lovely formula here. Now this formula, I'm not going to expect you to use it, but I want you to be aware of the parts of it. So to make this confidence interval, we need to know what the median is, we need to know what the interquartile range is, and we need to know how big our sample is. So all of this information is taken into account when coming up with the values for the confidence interval. So let's have a look at an example here. So what I've got in this graph is I've got the weights of kiwis. And this is just all kiwis put together. And I can see on my diagram that I've got this confidence interval here drawn. All right. And with that comes the two values. And you can see how we've written those, the graphs written them underneath. First thing we want to do is we want to round those numbers because we're not usually that accurate when we're measuring. So certainly in terms of weight, I wouldn't be able to measure things usually. This is 2.499404. I wouldn't normally be that accurate with my measurements. Okay, so I'm going to round that and say that's about 2.49 kilos. And equally the one on the other confidence interval, that's around about 2.57 kg. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to round them to one or two decimal places, round them to some level of accuracy because that's all that's needed. Now I want to think, right, this data set that I've got here, this is my sample. And the confidence interval is trying to estimate what is happening in the entire population of all kiwi birds. Okay, so I'm estimating that for all kiwi birds that the median weight is somewhere between 2.49 and 2.57 kilos. Okay, so that population median is somewhere between those two numbers. And that's what I'm going to write up in the example, and that's what you can see I've written there below. That the median weight of kiwi birds in the population of New Zealand, that median is likely to be between 2.49 and 2.57 kilos.